in the train? Reasons. I trust you completely. It, a modern-day classic that, like Disney, has been remade 2 different times. It is a whopping 1,153 pages that, according to Stephen King, took over 4 years to make. Half of that time was probably dedicated to his loving family, screaming over his love for Mambo number 5. It is a story that revolves around a desolate town known as Derry, Maine, and a supernatural entity that uses fear as its weapon. Its preferred form is a clown known as Pennywise the Dancing Clown. I know a clown is scary, but I know something that is much, much worse. It returns every 27 to 30 years from a deep slumber after her horrible act of violence and decides to feed on the population of Derry. But he feeds on their fear, not people. No possible way that can get confusing, am I right? And Derry largely accepts this mainly because the adults have no clue it exists, despite it being a being that lives in the sewers. Anyway, it makes itself invisible to adults, but the children of Derry still perceive it. The story takes place in 1957 after a horrific child abuse and murder that had shaken the town. Bill's brother Georgie was actually the first victim of it during its awakening in 1957. The main characters are a club known as the Losers, named accordingly. We've got Bill Denenbroth, stuttering that conveniently clears up in intense moments. Ben Henscombe, he's in a love triangle. Beverly Marsh loves leading men on. Richie Towser, literally Joe Gatto from Impractical Jokers. Eddie Kasprak, Mama's Boy. Mike Hanlon, there to move along the plot. Stanley Uris, missing for the second half. Bill Denenbroth is highlighted as the main character at the beginning of the story, but the story does bounce around to the other main characters and side characters too.
Overall, this book was a very well put together piece of literature, with just a few parts that I frown upon.
But her curiosity had overcome her good sense. There was something strange in that silence. She didn't understand what she was seeing, but she knew. It was nasty. I don't know about you, but I don't see Stephen King explaining this scene in the book. This scene involves a guy jacking off another guy, and they're both teenagers. In heaven's name was Stephen King thinking? Bless my parents for censoring this back when I was in the 7th grade! If this was written today, it would be very, very, very cancelled. It takes the form of Beverly's dad and arguably is Beverly's dad for a significant part of the book, but there's a point where he doesn't even try to act anything like a parent. Beverly puts her face near the drain of her bathroom because she can hear the voices of the dead kids of Derry talking to her. And then the drain starts throwing blood in her face and all over the walls of the bathroom. She freaks out, and the blood is clearly there because Beverly is the most sane one of the losers. Then her father walked in and asked what happened. Bev points to the walls and says the blood came out of the drain, and her father looks at her dumbfounded, like, what blood? Daddy, there's blood in the wall. No! Stephen King was reportedly on a lot of drugs during the writing of the book. Certainly seems that way because I don't know any sane person who would write about child porn. Near the end of the book, Stephen King wants to highlight the transition that the losers make from when they were young to when they were old to fight it back to back. And apparently, the easiest way to do that was with a goddamn orgy. Stephen King didn't have a publisher around this time because I think it would have been quickly shut down. Like, can we investigate Stephen's laptop? I know we won't find any midgets on there doing math equations. Stephen King said that he regrets the scene with the child orgy and wishes he could take it all back, and yet he is yet to do so. I understand he can't remove it from copies that have already been published and are out in the world, but the very least he could do is take it out of circulation. Though it has its mistakes and uncomfortable scenes, it is a very good book because it has several cultural scenes. It focuses on empowerment of minority groups, and it also shows how different people deal with fears and how to overcome them. Every single person in the Loser Club overcame their fears, so why can't you? And also, if you want to have a good read that scares your pants off, this one's the one for you. Have a great night, folks.